So one of the terminologies that very seldom come up or come up at all when discussing targeted individual and gang stalking is that it's actually, if it's done, with malicious intent or with intent to cause harm or bring people to a state of ruin, desolation, and ultimately inflict self pain on themselves, like suicide, or feel less than or cornered, that would all be included in what's considered a hate crime. So with hate crimes, these are crimes that are they're extreme in every sense of the word. And what I wanted to share was that there's a growing trend online with sharing videos of violence, and without any kind of backlash or rebuttal from groups that are supposed to be pro-life and protect the sanctity of life. And we're going to get into the sanctity of life in this video, and the groups that are more so responsible for upholding the unviolatable rights of life. And that is something that we have to expound on, because there's religious groups, and we see them on social media, and those groups, as opposed to doing the righteous works and promoting or furthering that established religion, they tend to bicker back and forth, waste more time on petty quarrels than solving or coming up with solutions to the problems that we're confronted with. So me, as being a part of a targeted group, when you have a certain racial group here in America, you would have black people, and if you're from a certain environment, you're targeted with a certain living condition or a conditioning that you're I'm not going to say that they expect you to live in, but you come from amongst it. I can see if I came from a different environment and I had a better or a different upbringing, I would probably see things a lot different. But because I experienced living in these particular environments that were plagued by certain drugs, certain crimes, and certain laws pertaining to these environments, and experiencing life in these particular neighborhoods or environments. So what we see online is that it's good that Facebook offers people that create content and make content some sort of financial gain for their services of putting out this content, and that's a good thing. And you're not going to speak about people that may have profited from, I'm not sure whether it's called the partnership or just monetization of your channel. But online we do have a lot of people from certain groups that's promoting violence on a daily basis, and these videos, the content that's being shown is, I want to say that it's strategically done, and the people that are promoting it are, strategically placed. So this is something that I see, and as you see it, you can address it. So we have this particular person right here. What's this guy named Quincy Macbeth, or whatever his name is. But as you can see, we have huge followers, and all content, some of his views, some of his content get tens of thousands of likes, so it generates a lot of income. Some get 772 k, some get 666k. Well, this is the particular video that I'm talking about right here, and you'll see the response given on when sharing this type of information and how it affects the onlooker, because these things are put in front of us. I could see if it was a site that showed like all this is all this stuff is censored videos. Look at them at your discretion. If you want to see it, go at your discretion. But you can just be randomly scrolling, and this video would appear to you. And again, when you see any videos of violence and shootings and stuff like that, and it's not going addressed, and it's unaddressed, it should be addressed, because any crime that's done and it results in casualties or fatalities, these would be considered a hate crime, and it was more so a hate crime to share it. So we should be aware of that. We're adding more fuel to the fire and adding insult to injury by profiting from violent acts and just continuously not address it. These are hate crimes. So what I wanted to get into was,
drill gets done in less than 5 seconds. Probably gotta mute the audio. Oh, partition.
This is, this, you understand, you barely saw it, but he shares it, and the video has a title to it. Drill gets done in less than 5 seconds, which he repeated the title of the video, and then he shares it and comments on it, and not the way that you comment on giving a spiritual or a uplifting message behind, like, we be more aware of certain things, or don't put yourself in this situation, or don't you give people good insight as to why this video is being shown to you, and but we're not doing that. We're just taking these negative videos and this negative content, and we're profiting from it. This is, again, what I call an agent of chaos. So these particular people will become agents of chaos, and it's evident. You can see in the picture. You got the devil horns. But like I stated before, that sometimes there's the club. The club is alive and well on Facebook. Those people that get into the club, they make sure that their followings is up. They get a lot of followers, and they profit from the content that they share. And that's just something that I wanted to point out. I'm not saying that you're it's just that you see it consistently, and it doesn't have any anything that's contesting it. Like, hold up, bro, nah, y'all gotta take that down. You gotta stop posting this. Facebook, stop allowing this stuff to be shown. If you're not going to stop showing it, we're going to start another class action lawsuit against you. These are hate crimes. These are crimes against humanity. By you repeatedly showing this stuff over and over and over again, you're only making that susceptible to the mind. Once the mind sees it and the mind agrees with it, this becomes the norm. So if you're making, violent crimes against a certain group of people the norm, then you're just as guilty as the people that's doing the crime, by not opposing it or not censoring it completely. We can talk about how, people will get censored for speaking about, homosexuality, and people getting sensitive about, the homosexual word. But what about people that feel some type of way about seeing their people get killed on a daily basis? You don't think that affects or offends people by allowing people to see this daily? You can ignore it, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be persistent. That doesn't mean that it's not going to exist at all. So by not acknowledging it, you're allowing it to be relevant or be prevalent in our reality. So, we have so many people, man, that just every day bickering back and forth. You got the Hebrew Israelites, Christianity ain't this and Christianity ain't that. Then you have, Christians, you stop watching tarot. Don't watch tarot. Don't watch tarot. Oh, those Islamic jihadists, and, every day. And we're fighting the wrong battle. The battle was not against people. The battle was against a mentality. It's a mindset. And that mindset, you can see it. And it's when you're talking about black people in itself, you have to understand that, being that we have been conditioned here, not all of us, first and foremost, we're not going to talk about all black people, because there's different factions of black people. Even when you had slavery, you had the field Negro, then you had the house Negro, and these were two different social statuses. And to the day, you still have these two different social statuses, and we're going to get into that, because you have to understand what it means to be targeted, or being a target group. We could talk about targeted individuals, and individualized things, but that doesn't address the problem of targeted groups. That's one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about the Holocaust, because we see some of the same effects of the Holocaust, and how today, when you have deportation and rounding up people, when you have ICE agents, this is no different than the Nazis when they was rounding up, people that they found to be criminals or inferior groups of people, and they deported them from out of their country. It's no different than that. So you want to use these things as to compare and contrast, and if we allowed that before, you're in a position to prevent that now, because we didn't have as much access to information as we had back then as we do now. And not only that, you don't have the works of those that are righteous amongst you like you had back then, like you have now. So we want to talk about one thing that I actually saw here. And I actually caught it. What you have is this particular person, and it's another video, and this is another video showing violence of black people on black crime and violence against black people, and it's a never ending story. And here we have more of their own kind, sharing it. You understand? And profiting from it. These videos, they generate revenue for certain people, and it makes a certain people to the world looks, you understand, it makes them look terrible on the world scene. It makes them seem like this is the mentality of all them. This is what happens when you are one of them, and that's not the case. That's not the case. You have people that are fighting against that, but you also have those that are promoting that as well. So here we have his comment. As you can see from the name, when you have the Bay, the BEY attached to the end of your name, you become, or you associate yourself with the Moor or the Moorish science. And these are a different group of black people in America. They are set apart from the rest of the blacks. But the reason why they're set apart is not because they're better, it's because of their involvement or the role that they played in certain events that led up, to the establishment of America. You understand? So this is the reason why when you see certain people get pulled over and they say that they're, part of this or part of that, is because, there's a history that America doesn't speak about at all, and it's treaties, it's a lot of treaties involved, and it's a particular people involved in it, and not only that, but when you go into the Moors were heavily responsible for being slave traders themselves. They was trading slaves. They was they was essential in, or key members in the slave trade and rounding up slaves and stuff like that. So we do know that it's really it's a huge difference in blacks and other blacks. So like I told you, I'm not allowing anything to condition me to be any kind of way. You break free from all of that. You break free from allowing yourself to be categorized as black, Afro-American, the Indian, anything. You just completely do away with any kind of labeling, because the labeling is part of the conditioning as well. So you want to break free from every facet or every aspect of conditioning that you could possibly break free from. So here we have the so-called black people. Your karma is going to be so critical. Your karma is going to be so critical. You have fallen to a level of a beast, and the beast will be tamed. Trust that. You understand? So that is this particular person's take on seeing black people inflict violence on each other. He would say that it's due to their own determination of why they're like that, but it's not strictly attached to their own self-determination. Sometimes it's it's a provocative thing in our community. The lack of resources creates that type of mentality to make other black people want to go and take from other black people, and that is just the way it is. If this particular person that suffered this particular fate on this day, guaranteed he didn't have the resources that would have made him satisfied, that would have been satisfactory towards him. He's not hopping out of a car being a millionaire or even 100,000 and see a people at a dice game and then rob them. He didn't do that. I'm guaranteed he wasn't 100,000-aire. He probably wasn't even a 50,000-aire. He probably wasn't even a 1,000-aire. He probably was the lack of resources. It produced that type of effect in these communities. The lack of resources. You understand? Not saying that they're justified in their means, but there's a condition that's go get money. Get money. You get money. You ain't nobody. And you have certain people that are put in front of you that'll tease you. Y'all broke. Y'all ain't got no money. Y'all broke. Y'all broke. So that kind of triggers other people, or it makes other people who don't have those resources feel as though, son, I have to go and get it by any means necessary. So the lack of resources produce that type of effect in these communities, and this is what we do know. This is what we come to understand. And I'll let this guy know that if it's not righteous, please don't think you or any other group on this planet is going to touch my people. And that's just the way it is. Don't think that because of the state that black people are in, that's going to give you the green light to inflict the same type of treatment on them. And especially if you know that you're in a better state than them. You understand, like the Moors, the people from the Moorish science, they're in a better condition or better state socially and economically, financially, than disenfranchised or impoverished black people. So they don't relate. You understand? And in fact, they relate to the people that were enslaving people. You know what I mean? And that's what I said. I said that, people that enslave people can't relate to the people that been enslaved. And people that betray people can't relate to the people that been betrayed. And that's how if you aren't placed in the same environment or in the same circumstances that those people are confronted with, then you can't relate to them. If you can't relate to them, you are in no position to make any kind of judgment pertaining to them. So that is one thing that I wanted to point out, is that we have groups of people that know better, that does not show better. Now, I mean, that are in a position to do better, but choose not to do better. You understand? And that goes into the acknowledgement that life is to be something that is honored. All life. You understand? So if we're keeping resources away from people and they're not experiencing life to its fullest, if they're not experiencing life to the fullest, then they're being programmed to be into a survival manner or mannerism. They have a survival instinct that they have to do what they have to do to get these resources, because the resources is being kept from them. If you don't understand that resources are being kept from them, then how can we go on Facebook and we want to put an engagement. When you go and type in engagement, and you'll see, pay for engagement, let's go. There's people that want to engage, that's getting paid. We get paid for engagement. Y'all help me out and engage with me. There's people that get paid just for engaging on Facebook. You understand? And that means that there's resources that just for, what are you just doing? Commenting, talking, alright, boom, you're getting money. So there's enough money in this world for everybody. Now, I mean, there's enough resources in this world for everybody. Everybody. This world is vast. This world, you have to understand what this world is. We talk about man. Man is God, and this the world. The nature is more closer to God than man would ever be. The nature is more relative to God than man could ever be, and nature is vast and infinite, as God is vast and infinite. So resources, they're being stifled and kept from a certain people, from getting to a certain people. And that being that those resources are cut off from them, that mindset is going to be what it is that they're thriving, that they're surviving off of, to get the resources. If I don't have the resources, then my mind is going to be to get the resources. Then you have the people that are controlling the resources. They are not subjected to the same thing that those people are. They're worrying about losing control of those resources. They're not worrying about acquiring the resources. It's all about controlling the resources. We control the resources, then we control the people. If the people lack resources, then they would have to do, any and everything, possible to get those resources. So what you see here, what you seen in that particular comment was, black fatigue is something that we wanted to get into. Let's see if we could find it. Well, it's a form of internalized racism. That's what that is. It's internalized racism. It's a racism from within that goes outward to the people that you identify with. Like, if these are people that's amongst me, and I dislike them, so you could look at them and form a difference towards them, so you don't feel any kind of empathy or sympathize with the situation or the circumstances that they're confronted with. So that is one thing that we see, amongst our own people. They have a lack of empathy and a lack of rationality, and they can't come up with any kind of solutions other than a form of hate, which is a form of self-hate by hating your own kind. And that only gears to allowing other groups of people that see that, you got a dislike for your group, I got a dislike for them too. So it only it okays, racism or a feeling of indifference towards a group of people. Now, with that, we want to talk about internalized racism. Means people of color start believing racist messages about their own racial group. People with internalized racism may change their appearance to fit Western beauty standards. Name calling like Oreo or sellout is often used against those accused of internalized racism. What does internalized racism mean? In a society where racial prejudice thrive in politics, communities, institutions, and popular culture, it's difficult for people of color to avoid absorbing the racist messages that constantly bombard them. Thus, people of color sometimes adopt a white supremacist mindset that result in a self-hatred and hatred of their own respective racial group. So, that's it in a nutshell. Having a self-hatred and hatred of their respective racial group. And we saw in the comment, he's saying that they was beasts and that they was going to be tamed. I stated that, but not in the sense of calling them beasts. I said that we was back in the days, we had no freedom, we were slaves. But now we free, we act like we come from a cave. Sad to say, some of us belong in chains, like savage beasts that you can't teach or can't be tamed. That doesn't mean that, do away with. That means that you might have to put them somewhere. You might have to lock them up. Normally, we do go to prison, and then we rectify the things that are wrong with us, and then we are able to change. But, it's to say that, trust that they're going to be tamed. Like, oh yeah? Y'all gonna tame? How are y'all gonna tame them? If it's not righteous, don't think that anybody, any group on this planet, anybody, is going to do anything to people. Period. Whether it's my people or anybody else's people. If I see it, if I acknowledge it, then it's going to be met with resistance. Righteous resistance, not any kind of negative and throwing any kind of, no, we're just going to be met with righteous resistance, which that was righteous resistance. I could have just said, you know what, he could say whatever he want to say, but you have to allow these people that believe that they're high and mighty know that they're actually not that high and mighty. You know, understand what I'm saying? Because for all these years, they've got away with a lot of stuff. They've got away with a lot of stuff, and a lot of people have not been hip to their enrollment, their actions, and how their role in certain things. And that brings us to the redemption song, by Bob Marley. Bob Marley didn't say it was a particular group of people that did something to us. He said it was pirates, and these pirates, they have a history, they have association with, so they was pirates that was rounding up people and bringing them places and causing all sorts of diverse slavery and bringing slaves over here and slaves over there and slaves over there. So they created more hell on earth than the aftermath would actually create. So they actually played a role in the destruction of not just American civilization, but all civilizations. Not just Eastern civilization, but all civilizations. So we do see that in what you call internalized racism, and there's discussion that we should get into when it comes to how internalized racism affects us mentally. See, those that come from a history of systemic racism have adopted a mental disorder, especially living in these communities. We have a mental disorder, and that comes from experiencing post-traumatic, they say stress disorder, and another form is post-traumatic slave syndrome, from you inheriting a legacy of slaves and the conditioning that they had to endure. And we could get that terminology and give you a better understanding of how it affects us. It would be called post-traumatic slave syndrome. We're not saying that all this time passed and you're not. Well, why can't you get it together? And you understand. Still, these conditions are prevalent in the inner cities where drugs is ran rampant, and there's an economic behind drugs and crime. It's profitable for those that commit the crimes, and it's also profitable for those that enforce laws on the crime. So it's a never-ending story when it comes to give and take, or cat and mouse. So where you have those that suffer from it, you have those that benefit from it, amongst it, and those that are behind the laws governing it. So PTSD is described as a condition that arises from the multi-generational trauma inflicted on Afro Americans due to centuries of chattel slavery, followed by systemic racism and discrimination. We had Jim Crow laws right after slavery. We had, blacks only, or blacks not allowed, whites only, and stuff like that. And those type of things, regardless of how we move from that, is still a part of the history, and it becomes a part of our identity. We identify with, being persecuted and discriminated against. We experience that, and when we do that, it contributes to our overall mindset towards even trying to fit into today's society, because we knew that at one point in time society was staged or set up against a particular people. But at those times, we still, like I said, we still had blacks that were in the ranks of not being subjected to those laws and not being looked at in that way. So we do know that. We do know that we have a group that was never ever subjected to slavery, and that actually capitalized off of slavery as well. So that is, PTSS. It's intergenerational trauma. The effects of slavery and subsequent discrimination have been passed down through generations, leading to the collective psychological impact on African Americans. Common manifestations of PTSS include low self-esteem, feeling of hopelessness, anger, and internalized racism. These behaviors are often adaptive responses to the historical and ongoing oppression faced by African Americans. Then you have the social and psychological implications. PTSS is not merely a clinical disorder, but a reflection of the broader social injustices that continue to affect the mental health and well-being of African Americans. Dr. DeGray emphasizes the need for profound social change to address these issues. Right, so we do need social change to address these issues, And as opposed to us creating social change, we create social indifferences. And those indifferences keep us divided. And in many of these groups, they're either one against the other or one against all. And that's just, the ways that grouping works. If it wasn't about group or putting people in a particular group, then everything would be a collective of people. You would have a collection of people as opposed to this group, that group, and this group. So we have to understand that racism itself is a systematic thing that was, given to a people to feel as though that they're at war with another people, when it is actually a mindset that we're at war with. It's the mindset of people that we're at war with. We're not at war with any people. You understand? Because it's hard to single out a people, especially when you're talking about whites and blacks. There's no way for you to distinguish whites and blacks, because there's good whites and there's good blacks, and there's bad whites and there's bad blacks. So there's no way for us to, single out one race of people as these are the culprits behind why you're experiencing this hardship, when there was involvement, or your own kind partook in it. That's why, when you stated that, in my resurrection, I stated that I know you're used to judge, jury, and executioner. They persecuted us way before the prosecutor, bruh. The Zionists got the eye on the Lion of Judah, cuz it took a black messiah for you to know who the Judas was. Your own people betrayed your people. We let some peasants rape the kingdom. God made us good. The devil made us evil. Life made us good. Survival made us evil. We was living. Life in itself is good. That's God given. Survival is what man created to suppress and make man fend or fight for themselves, for their resources. That is survival. So that's what makes us evil. Your own people betrays your people. We let some peasants rape the kingdom. God made us good. The devil made us evil. You understand? So when we're thinking about that, we have to understand what's behind our ways and actions. Is it the goodness of life? Is goodness of life making us like? No, it's our survival is making us like that. And being that we're still still believe that we're living, but at the same time we're actually all surviving. If you working at 9 to 5, if you getting out there hustling, bustling, and you have to keep it up, or life is going to take you under, then you're out there surviving. So we have to get out of a survival state, and get into a living state. You understand? So it's a big difference in the two. It's a big difference. And we I'll get into this some other time. But yeah, those were all hate crimes. When you show videos of violence, crime, especially when it's black, what I mean? These are hate crimes. And you're targeted with hate crimes. You're targeted with them. And this becomes our reality, us being subjected to hate. So we want to get into the depression and anxiety of PTSD, and how we're reluctant to address the mental health problem, especially when we create new terminologies for our youth that are coming up and that adopted or inherited these mental health problems in these communities. We call them YNs, but what we don't call them is, what they are, the result of our inability to, correct our mental health problems. So black Americans sometimes experience more severe forms of mental health conditions due to unmet needs and other socio-economic barriers. Nearly 45 million people in the U.S. identify as black, with at least 3.1 million identifying as a combination of black and another race. Of that, more than 7 million black and African American individuals in the U.S. are living with a mental health condition. According to the Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health, black Americans are 20% more likely to experience serious mental health problems than the general population. Black youth who are exposed to violence are at greater risk for PTSD by over 25%. Black Americans are also more likely to be exposed to factors that increase the risk of developing a mental health condition, such as homelessness and exposure to violence. So poverty and exposure to violence it fosters or creates grounds or room for a mental health condition, you know, and as those that see and understand and have no kind of input, recourse, resolution for the problem, you're just as guilty as the ones that are, inflicting it. And you're no different or no set apart than the ones that's experiencing it. If they're people that you relate to, as far as nationality wise, they look like you, and you develop some sort of disgust towards them because of their circumstances or their living conditions, then you develop that disgust for yourself, and that's the reason why I don't disassociate myself with them, and I feel as though because I see what it is, and I'm able to rectify those things within me. I'm able to look at them as a means for, like, yo, son, if you could do the same thing, if you could see what I see, you'll be able to break out of what it is that the box that they're trying to keep you in. But that has to be something that's willfully done. It can't be imposed, or it can't be dictated. It can't be dictated, because that wouldn't be a sincere form of change or a sincere form of acceptance, So with that, we wanted to get into. Well, first we'll go back to this particular
drill gets done in less than 5 seconds.
Video where you have people that's he stated what he stated with a happy, almost smile in his voice. Understand, he is happy to see this. It's entertainment for him to see black men murder other black men. Hate to see it. So, nah, this is great. Eventually, they'll just kill each other off. This is what this particular person states. They'll just kill each other off. I love to see this.
Drill gets done in less than 5 seconds. Probably gotta meet that.
But here we have another person.
Oh, he walking with big Drake up.
Here we have another person that gave you a solution. That this is what we like. We like for people to give solutions. There should be a law about things like this. Reacting to a crime being committed in this way and not feeling bad for the victim at all should result in prison time as well, because you're clearly mentally effed up and would likely do the same thing as the criminal. So the mindset that agrees with seeing violence and getting a kick or a thrill out of it, this is the mindset that's a problem with the world. That's what's wrong with the world. That mindset. Seeing things and getting the thrill out of it, and not empathizing with people. Another person states that clowns like this guy using murder for content like it's a comic book. Stop glorifying this. Why do you post this like it's cool, all for clicks? I hate y'all. You know what I mean?
Oh, he walking with big Drake.
No. And Lord forgive us for being so effing disrespectful to life. Right, right, right. Glorifying death for likes and views. Everything is a game. Is a game name. But they don't know that you always have the last laugh. Right. Right. And that's the thing. You don't understand when you violate life. You promote violating life. You put yourself on bad time. People don't understand that. Life has laws. Life has laws. And it was this other girl. It was another one of my Facebook friends. And she posted a video. And she was laughing at a raccoon. And the raccoon was being shot repeatedly over and over and over again. By a police officer, trying to put the raccoon, I guess it was rabbit, out of his misery. And she felt that, that was funny. I shared it, was laughing about it. I was like, yo, son, be careful, dog. Don't laugh at that. That is not hilarious. The other day, you know what I mean? She's saying that she was going through hell. This is the worst week of my life. This is the worst week in my life. And I told her, you laughed at that raccoon, right? You get it? Don't. When you mock life, you know what I mean? Life will. You're going to find out. You're going to find out the hard way that life is not to be played with. And a lot of people, like I said, life been violated. God is life, and life has been violated a long time ago. And being that life has been violated a long time ago, everything that we experience here comes from those violations, and we tend to undermine it by attributing everything to everything else, or even just ignoring it. But that's what's destroying us. That's what's destroying the world. The way that the world destroyed, its involvement in its past transgressions against life. So that's why things are the way that it is now, because of the past transgressions. The past transgressions. So being that you're able to see those things and confront them, you're able to deter that course of allowing your past transgressions to dictate your future. So that is the reason why it's imperative for us to go back and make peace with the past, because if not, it's going to be persistent, and every generation that comes after is still going to be affected or inflicted by that curse. It doesn't matter who you are, what status you are. It doesn't matter if you're the richest in the world or you're poorest in the world. You all come from those violations. You're all a spawn or a seed of those violations, and they have to be rectified. And you can't listen. So another person says, keep up the good work. Racism will be gone soon. Racism will be gone soon. But what I told him was, we sold out a long time ago. It's blatant. It's just blatant now. They put $1 behind posting, and the content they want you to post is your people killing each other. It's a wicked force behind this platform, meaning what's used for evil we can use for good. But we have those with morals, breaking moral law. So it's those without morals are breaking moral law. So we're attributing those without morals as a reliable source for moral law. So they're breaking it, just constantly breaking it, because they don't have any kind of moral. It would be morally wrong for a person of a righteous standard to show videos like this. You know what I mean? Because it's promoting that. It's not just showing it, it's promoting it. By you seeing it is what you promote. It's no different than speaking it. When you speak it, you speak life or you speak death. If you show life, you're promoting it. It's the same thing as speaking death. Now, I mean, saying it or showing it is the same thing as speaking it. So that's where the power of life and death is in the tongue. The same thing. It's in the keyboard. It's in the keyboard. Again, because you can, all day long, just type it, just show it, all day long. So it's in the keyboard as well. So these people become immoral people, and those that are immoral people break immoral law. You show this. Then you got the person, here, that's videotaping it. It's targeted attacks. This is what a targeted attack is like. You understand? This wasn't a road rage. This was a targeted attack. Knew that person right there. Just roll up, hit them, and just keep it moving. Targeted attack. So we're not acknowledging how, it's not just groups or individuals being targeted, but groups of individuals. And if you're in that targeted group, then you can be individualized in that group and targeted. So that's why, we have to address these things. But yeah, we can but the first one to show this real quick. And this is in big bold letters for you. Murder is indeed considered a hate crime. Murder is indeed considered a hate crime under the legal definition, provided by the United States Department of Justice. Murder is a hate crime. Period. It's not done out of love. It's done out of extreme hate. It's not done out of love. So when we show hate, when we show violence towards each other, we are showing hate crimes. You know what I mean? These are hate crimes. And it should be addressed as such. Facebook should be penalized for allowing the ongoing the showing of hate crimes, uncensored hate crimes. You gotta have a particular place for this stuff to be seen. If you want to sign up to go see this there, then go ahead. But for this to be a profitable thing, and any and everybody with a keyboard and a mouse or a phone could just take something and just share it and just keep sharing it and keep sharing it. What, 341 shares? You know what I mean? Just keep sharing it. Do you understand what the world is up against? So, these are things that need to be addressed. Collectively, we all have to come to realization that we have to stop showing that, we have to stop doing that, and we have to take that down. Or there's going to be some sort of backlash behind it. It's going to be some sort of backlash. Let me see if I could. No. So I got maybe like 3 accounts. How to increase graphics on Quest 3. That's it. She could have took it down. But yeah, it's what it is. We are all afflicted. So these are afflictions of black people. I wanted to know what they actually was. And black people face a range of afflictions, including health disparities, mental health challenges, and the effects of systemic racism, which contribute to chronic stress and exhaustion. So there we do know that these are things that we endure, you know. And again, we have the diabetes. You know, I spoke about, you know, the necessity for us to fast every, maybe at least once a week. We should fast, and that will probably, you know, prevent us from experiencing diabetes. But I do know that, you know, both of my grandparents, my grandmother on my mother's side and my grandmother on my father's side, was both diabetic, you know. And I don't and I know that a few of my other family members are diabetic, so I do know that we experienced that. And then we have a lot of people that may pass away in like rappers and stuff like that, like older rappers. And then when you go research or find out what actually happened to them, you know, you will find out that they had battled with diabetes. So we do have that as one of the leading causes of death amongst black people. So a term, black fatigue, is a term that has emerged to describe the exhaustion felt by many black individuals, and black fatigue, coined by Mary Frances Winters. This term encapsulated the chronic stress and emotional toll of navigating a society rife with systemic racism. Black fatigue can manifest as physical, mental, and spiritual exhaustion stemming from the lack of recognition and progress regarding racial issues. The affliction affecting black people are multifaceted, encompassing health disparities, mental health challenges, and the pervasive impact of systemic racism. Addressing these issues requires a comprehensive approach that acknowledges the historical context and actively works towards equity in healthcare and social support systems. Understanding these afflictions is crucial for fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment for the black community. Again, there is no black community because black people are divided. You know, they're divided amongst themselves. You know, whether it's division in our religious beliefs or differences in our political beliefs, differences in our social status, differences in our financial statuses. We have differences, you know. So that's preventing there from ever being a black community. Not saying we can't establish a black community at some point in time, but as it stands now, there's no black community. You know, there's no black community, and by them continuously referring to groups, the black people as a whole, as a community, that is what's bringing forth a lot of disgust towards other blacks by contributing that to, you know, a collective group of people. It would make a certain group that knows that no, we're better than that. Don't look at us like that. You gotta understand the Moorish people wouldn't want to be looked at as common as the regular people in the hood or in the community. They have a certain inheritance that they have from their involvement in slavery, in the slave trade. They did partake in slavery. Moors' involvement in slave trade, and the Moors or Muslims played a significant role in the slave trade during the medieval and early modern periods. They were involved in various aspects of the slave trade, including the capture and sale of enslaved individuals. Here are some key points regarding their involvement. Slavery in the Moorish kingdom. The Moors practiced slavery and used white captives, often from Barbary pirates, in their kingdoms. It was estimated that white slaves in Moorish servitude reached 1.2 million by 1780. Role in African slave trade. Moors were involved in the African slave trade, particularly in the context of the Barbary white slave trade. They were also involved in the trans-Sahara trade, which was more lucrative than the Sahara slave trade. Enslaved populations in Iberia. The presence of North African Muslims and Berbers in Iberia's slave populations was significant alongside Moriscos and other groups. Historical context. Portugal was a leading player in the Atlantic slave trade, with Moors being captured and sold as slaves. The Moors' involvement in the slave trade was part of the broader historical context of conflict and trade between different cultures and regions. These points illustrate the complex and multifaceted involvement of Moors in the slave trade, highlighting their role in a global system of slavery that spanned continents and centuries. So we do have, the understanding that, Moors were involved in, the enslavement of people. And again, people that enslave people can't relate to the people that been enslaved, and people that betrayed people can't relate to the people that been betrayed. So I'm not the betrayer. I'm amongst the people that been betrayed. Then in order to betray them, you would have to get online, right? I would have to get online and partake in, distributing content that's meant to hurt my people. Now, I would have to get online like a Mac Mula or, one of these people. Matter of fact, they're swarming. They're by the dozens. Every day they're creating content creators and taking a nobody and making them somebody, and that somebody is pumping out distasteful and disgusting depictions of their own people. And that's the same thing as betraying your own people. Your own people betrayed your people. You understand? So in order for us to understand where we have to go, we have to know what we're going towards. We're going towards correcting that within ourselves. Internalize that correction. Bring that correction from inside of us and bring that out. We can't do it unless you're willing to go inside and change. If you're not going inside to change anything, then you can't change anything around you. So we have to go inside first to change, and then you bring that change from inside you to outward. So we have to stop setting our people up. We have to stop setting them up and start allowing them to know that it's all a setup. It's all been a part of a setup. I told them that in another post that I had made with they clone Tyrone. Like, I showed them, like, yo, son, y'all see that it's a setup. Everything from the gangs, the drugs, the prostitution, all this stuff is a setup. And that type of stuff gets swept under the rug. Nobody cares to listen to the thing that they need to listen to because they're being bombarded with things that they want to listen to. Oh, we want to hear, we want to see this violence, we want to see it, but they don't know how it contributes to the destruction of their people. You understand? They don't see that, you know. But it was a guy, and let's see if we could get to it. There was a guy that made a post, you understand, and you know, he showed this post right here, you know, of the person known as Shamar. And you know, this is a person that, you know, social media allowed to, you know, to be, you know, establish himself. He made pretty good, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't follow these particular people, but I do know that, you know, fame was allotted to this particular person, and it came through social media and their come on, dog, and their fixation or fascination with, you know, just negative content or drama filled content. So what this particular person says is that, you know, that's the danger of this generation. Clout turned into credentials, attention turned into authority. Anybody with a ring light and a half crazy, this is a ring light, where's my ring light at? It's I guess it's in there, but I do have a ring light. And but anybody with a ring light and here we go. Anybody with a ring light and a half crazy personality can become a role model overnight, and people will run with it because it's entertaining, not because it's healthy. The problem is folks don't separate content from guidance. They let jokes become doctrine and dysfunction become inspiration. And that's why everything feels weird, because we're watching people crown influencers based on views, not values. At the end of the day, this is exactly why the real ones, the grounded ones, gotta keep speaking, because if you stay silent, people will let TikTok raise them. And that's how you end up with a whole generation following somebody whose spine and morals both leaning. I guess he threw a blow at Shamar, you know, but it's the God honest truth. You know what I mean? You know, but you know, we don't stop. We don't stop. The thing is, you know, I shared one of Stephen Derby's post that I had created. Let's see if I can find it. This is me. You gotta understand. This is, you know, what you're trying to do is
they don't have to do it.
You know, make your understanding understood to a people that actually need it. But you know, we don't get no, we don't get none of that. And we don't care, because the more people run from it, the more effective you know it is. If they run to it and flock to it, it's really not that effective. But the more people run from it, the more effective it is. So we're not feeling no type of way about it. But I put this here with Stephen Darby. And you put that there as a means of understanding that, you know, your leaders, you know, if you was blessed people, you have blessed leaders. If you have cursed leaders, then that means that you're a cursed people. You think Trump is do you think Trump is blessed or cursed? Trump stated himself that he's not going to heaven. That's your leader. So if your leaders is not going to heaven, where do you think you're going? Know what I mean? I don't think that I'm going to get into heaven. I don't think that I'm going to be able to get into heaven. But you're a Christian. You know what I mean? You're not just any kind of Christian. You're a proud Christian. You know what I mean? A a self proclaimed proud Christian. This is what you proclaim. Nobody else put that on you and said, "Now you going." This is something that you proclaim as a conscious person, that you're a Christian. You know what a Christian is, but you deny that you don't believe that you're going to heaven. So if your leaders aren't going to heaven, do you think you're going to heaven? How could your leaders, the president is the leader, isn't it? This is what you chose for, right? So that's the reason why I had posted that, for them to see this, You understand? So by us understanding that, we would go to this particular comment section, and this is one of my friends from school from way back in the days, and when I lived in Atlanta, and you see that he has, the Romans taking the menorah and all of the things from the temple in Jerusalem. After they destroyed it, they took all the stuff out of there. So he got a picture of them taking all the stuff. So he said that, Pastor Darby, my favorite preacher, R.I.P. Pastor Darby. I said, I feel like Darby should have been the only preacher. He gave it to you not the way you wanted, but the way you needed. And he said, yep, they had to silence him, but his teachings are forever with us. And that's the thing about silencing. They can't silence a person that already spoke. They can only silence the people that he spoke to. If he spoke to you and you're being silenced, they didn't silence him, they silenced you. You understand? So what I did, I took it upon myself, to go on my people's page. I wanted to see how well, how good Dr. Stephen Derby was to him. Where's Stephen Darby content on your page? Where's Stephen Darby content? Where's Stephen Darby? No, they didn't silence Stephen Darby. They silenced him. Now, I mean, if you was to continuously just keep bombarding people with what Dr. Stephen Darby put out for you, then they couldn't silence him. You understand? So they're not silent. People don't get silenced. It's the people that remain silent. You understand? So if you believe that somebody silenced somebody and you have no kind of hold on, no, somebody got to answer to that. Who did what? Who did it? But you're being silent about it, then they didn't silence him. He did what he came here to do. You know what I mean? Stephen Darby did what he came here to do, and they didn't silence him. He knew what he was signing up for. You know what I mean? Because every time he said it, he said, yeah, I said it. I said it. Anything that you think that he wasn't supposed to say, he always said, I said it. Because that's the authority that you have. And nobody can silence him. Maybe they didn't silence him. Like I said, we have, us as a people, have high blood pressure, and diabetes is very real, is a part of us. So if we eat good and we don't take the time to allow that good eating to wear off, to especially if you don't have a fast metabolism, like I have a fast metabolism, I could burn stuff off fast. But if other people have a slow metabolism, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to develop, these things that come along with, good eating. And that's one of them. High blood pressure, sugar levels, and diabetes. So, maybe he didn't, but we could speculate. And that speculation, comes with assuming. And then when we assume and then we start accusing, then we become those like the devil. The devil's the accuser. So, we don't want to, we don't want to start accusing people and pointing fingers at, hey, nah, no, that's nah, bro, man. They killed Stephen Darby, man. You know, Stephen Darby came here and did what he was supposed to do. You know what I mean? He put that information out, and to this day, all that information is still right there at will. You can just go take it and share it. If you want people to get it, they didn't silence him, they silenced you. You know what I mean? And people, you can't silence me because my page is still up. You know what I mean? And when I see things, I'm going to address them as they need to be addressed. You know? Only I can silence me. You know? Only I can silence me. And you and the people. Come on, dog. Come on, dog. Nah, cause dog be playing, bruh. So that's what we need to adhere. That's what we need to acknowledge. You know, is that when you silence people, like, you know, we got the Redemption song by Bob Marley, and like I said, it brought that to me when he said pirates. You know, and I said, hold on, Moors was pirates, wasn't they? And not only that, but the Moors was doing. Y'all gotta go and check the history out of that, man. It's so fascinating because they actually had America at their knees, and America kept trying to have peace treaties with them, and they just kept extorting them. America was getting extorted by the Moors and the Berbers, and they just kept extorting them to the point where I guess they gave them, you know what I mean, some sort of extreme privileges over here in America. So those that, you know, form allegiance with Moors, they get those benefits as well. But you would have to go and get into the story or the history of America to understand how deep rooted that stuff is. But you know, they're indifferent towards the average black people that may be descendants of Indians or may be those that came through the slave trade, because we do know that, you know, none of our history is actually what it is. None of our history in this world is what it is. And that's the reason why someone would have to come back with the spirit of truth to make, you know, the truth known, to make the truth manifest. Because they have an exceptional quality of seeing. So if they have an exceptional quality of seeing, they can see, you know, the truth in a sea of lies. They'll be able to pick that out from a sea of lies. They can pick, even if it's well camouflaged and well blended in, they'll be able to distinguish, you know, fact from fiction. And that is the reason why, you know, some people would have to come back, you know what I mean, with the spirit of truth, because those amongst you are not with the spirit of truth. If they was with you, then they would never allow the spirit of truth to be swept under the rug. They're the ones that pull the rug and say, aha! It's like the Scooby-Doo and when they pull the mask off the villain. It's not a monster, it's a regular person underneath there, you know. So that's what, you know, that entails. So old pirates, yes they rob I. Yes they rob I. Sold I to the merchant ships, minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. You know, this is one of the things that we have to, the juicy nectar in the book. This is the juiciest nectar. This is one of my favorite songs. It touches me. I don't know what it is, but this song just touches me. But he said, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Oh, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. You know, so because it's written, we have to allow it to happen. You understand? And that's the thing. You know, like I said, knowing something is going to happen and not ward it off contributes to a mental illness. So there was these children at one point in time that said that they was visited by some aliens, and the aliens showed them a history of the future and said that this world, this planet is going to be destroyed. And being that it's going to be destroyed, we came to the children. Why did we come to the children? Because you're going to be in a position to do something about it, to prevent it. You understand? So being that you're forewarned about events, catastrophes, disasters, guaranteed or impeding death or destruction, and you're not willing to deed the course, then you're part of the I want to see if I could find it, but yeah. So, that was just to say that, Stephen Darby is they silenced him. No. They would silence him if they would have took down his page. Even if they took down his page, you still got people that has some of his content, in other places. But then you did have certain people who was like, no, you can't share none of his content and put a copyright strike on you, and take that down. I'm like, son, ain't this information God-given information, and it's free, and it's for correction? That's what righteousness is for, correction. So when you were preventing people from sharing corrective content, then you're kind of in cahoots with the one that's promoting wicked content. If you're restricting people from sharing righteous and corrective content, you're in cahoots with the people that's promoting destructive and detrimental content. That's just how it goes. But yeah, I wanted to share that because you see that online, and if anybody sees this and make content, just be mindful of what it is that you're putting out. Just be mindful of what you're putting out. But we're not promoters of destruction and death. Like I stated before, when I made music, I was one that did that. I promoted it as well. I promoted it, and being that you had a awakening, and now that content is 13, 14 years old. That means that I'm not going to come out today and make a video and talk about negative stuff, drug dealing and bust my gun. No, I can't do that now. Then you'll be a hypocrite. We're to reflect the righteousness of God. Reflect it outwardly. That way, the God will be made manifest in this world. If you're not reflecting God, then we're not going to see God anywhere. We're not going to see God. And that's one thing that they're doing on a wide scale, especially online. Online they're mocking Christianity by saying that nobody's coming back for you. Nobody's coming for you. And they're mocking Christ, and like I stated before, the worst sin that you can actually commit is denying the Holy Spirit. Denying the Spirit of God, and you wouldn't know who and how God works. God is not that. God is not. You can't dictate God. You don't know who God is going to come in. You don't know. You do not know. But if, like I said, if they produce one for you, then, and if they're with them, if Hollywood know them and they know them, then that's not it. Because first and foremost, we going amongst the poor. Understand? We're going amongst the poor people. And that's one thing that I just recently did when I was telling you about they tried to kidnap me. You know, I won a few dollars. I won the lottery, and as opposed to keeping it to myself, I went amongst the poor and I gave to the poor. You know what I mean? I went into the hood, and when I went out there, they knew I was gonna be out there. So I seen this woman and this guy, and I was walking up the street. Let me see if I could bring up the street. Let me see. Well, this is Market. So here's the location right here. This is the hood. So I was right here, walking up the street. It was a girl and a guy. They was standing right here. You understand? Standing right here, and the girl was looking at her phone like they stepped there, like they was waiting to meet me in crossing. So the guy was right here. He had on all black hoodie and some gloves on. He had a blue wave cap on, like a blue wave cap, but it was down. So she was just looking at her phone and looking up, like looking to make sure that was me. So the guy, he was just standing there, and when I got towards them, he looked in my face like this, like to make sure I was him, because again, I don't carry phones. I don't bring my phone with me, so you're not going to have anything tracking me. So when he seen it, I felt the spirit of him, like, hold on. You got to understand, they might think I have more money than what I actually had, so it could have been, they knew that I had won the lottery, but I had got robbed. Even then, they robbed me. When I went to the store and I had played the number, he gave me the wrong number. And I normally go at around about 12:40 something, and the lottery comes out at 12:53. So he gave me 170 like 20 times. I went in there and tried to get 167 20 times straight. So he had gave me 170. So when I walked out the store, I looked at my numbers. I said, yo, and I'm outside the store. And I looked at the rest of my numbers. I didn't have 167 in there, not one time. If I had it one time, I would have just kept it moving, because some mistakes are made in your favor. But the way that he grinned when I came into the store, I was like, hold on. You know what I mean? You purposely gave me 170, So I ran back in the store and I told him to give me that number 10 times. You know what I mean? Because if I would have told him to cancel that number out, it would have took more time. So I told him to give me that number, give me it 10 times straight. So he gave it to me, and I went home, and that's what the number was. So I had took the tickets, cashed them in, and I said, man, I'm going amongst my people. Some people get the money and they do things that they want to do with it. But like I told you, I could think of money. And you control money. Money don't control you. Where money controls my people. And this is one thing that's keeping them in that state. If we all had money, and regardless of what our conditions was, they would be in a better state. You understand? So if we did things where we gave out more incentives as opposed to restricting people from having certain things, then you would see a change. But because, like I said, they're stifling the resources from people, and keeping the resources away from certain people. This is the reason why they're in that condition. But so, as opposed to me going this way, kept walking up the street, as you see that you're going deeper into, you know what I mean, the hood. I went this way. You understand? I went this way. I walked all the way up here. Now, this is what's going to be funny. You know what I mean? I walked all the way up here. I walked all the way up to the 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? Just the deed of my course. Because, like I said, you're walking deep into the heart of the hood. So I walked all the way up here, went by the 7-Eleven. You know, went by this 7-Eleven right here, right? Now, at this 7-Eleven, you gotta understand. At this 7-Eleven, let's move this bus real quick. So at this right here, come on, because this is funny right here. This is real funny. So as I get right here, it's like a little club right here. Escape Go-Go. I don't know. It says permanently closed. I don't know. But it's a club right there. I seen my gang stalker, the girl that they put in my life. You understand? I seen her right there. She was standing outside in front of the store. Now, I mean, she was going like this. And that's what she does. She like scratches her head, and this is how you knew it was her. So I seen her from all the way right here. You understand? And I walked up on her, and she didn't even recognize me. And then I don't know what she was doing out there. And she was like, "I'm coming with you." So I already know that if she's out there at that type of night, that she's up to no good. So at that time, I had cut my venture out there short. You understand? So now we're walking up the street. So we're going back up into the hood. You understand? So we're going back into the hood. You know, because I have to take a cab out of there, because at this time there's no buses or anything running. You know. So we're going up here. We're all on foot too. So we stop. Yeah, I see. This is the really the hood. This is Patterson. I mean, so we get right here, right? We get right here. Get it? Now all this stuff is closed. Like, this is at night. This is at night. All this stuff is closed down. So it's a group of people right here. People that get high. The girl get high as well. You know what I mean? So she's talking to people, like she stops right here. Now, there's two cars that pull up. One of the cars got the guy in it. You know what I mean? That had the all black on with the blue wave cap. And it was like, he right there. So they I heard him. So they pulls the car around here. They park it right here. And I start hearing them get out the car. So as they start to get out the car, I just slip away. You know what I mean? So they come about right, they jump out the car. The girl is standing like right here. And the guy that had the black on, he was like standing right next to her. Now I mean, he like ran. to see where I was at. Like I told you, I slipped away. I already knew that what they was coming for. You understand? And it was 2 cars. Both of the cars, they was 4 deep. There was 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And then, like I said, he was like, he right there, he right there, he right there. You understand? So I said, yo, they was trying to kidnap me. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure whether the girl knew it or not. You know what I mean? Or it was part of the structuring or the setting up. You know what I mean? Her having her mind hacked. Like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, gang stalkers might have their minds hacked as opposed to the targeted individuals having their minds hacked, because, you know what I mean, she something is instructing her. You understand? Something is instructing her, because if she was involved in that, she knew what was about to happen, because she didn't come with me. She didn't when I seen, you know what I mean, what was about to transpire, you know what I mean, she didn't say, all right, let's go. They was actually trying to get me to walk up this way. You know what I mean? If I would have walked up this way, then it would have been a lot easier for you not to have any kind of wiggle room. I had wiggle room right here. They didn't know where I went, but I slipped away. You understand? And I slipped away. Then I doubled back around. I had got my cab. I came back around. I had got her, and I had brought her. I went home, and I got her into a cab, and I sent her home. Because she stays, and she don't even stay over here. This is what I'm trying to tell you. She's not from this area at all. You know what I mean? So it was weird that I saw her out there. You never see, I don't, she's not associated with this area. But this is a huge drug area. And I do know that she had got on drugs. And this is one of the things that I dreaded for her to do is to be out here. Because they'll eat you alive out here. And the reason why you're more assistive to her is because she always put herself in stupid situations. You understand? And people always rob her and beat her up and stuff like that. So it's bad for her to be in. She's not any and everybody that gets into the streets. They feed off of her. She gets money, and they take her money from her. She gets phones. Every phone that she get, they take it from us. And that's the thing. That's another thing. You know, you was actually praying for her. Like, yo, God, yo, protect her. You know, protect her. Because she had, somebody stole her phone probably a few months ago. And I guess she never got another phone. And being that you know that she's associated with the program, she's one that normally stalks you. And even just knowing that people is live and well is kind of like, all right, cool, whatever, man. And like I said, I'm one that can't be bothered. So you're not going to get under my skin especially after I know the type of games that's being played. You're not going to be able to get under my skin no more. So she would hit me up from time to time, you know, sometimes just thanking me about, you know what I mean, things that I did for her, like in the past. I appreciate you, you know what I mean? I appreciate all you did for me, and, you know. But, so that's one thing that I did. I wasn't hearing from her in probably a few months. Like, yo, I hope she's good. You know what I mean? Because she always get herself in BS. So I was able to run into her. You know what I mean? And that what was surprising to me. And like I said, I got her out of that situation. And she didn't have any money. She didn't have anything. You know what I mean? And apparently she was out there doing stuff that she ain't had no business doing. You know, but I was able to get her. Like I told you, I'm her friend. I'm people's friend, because I know how to be a friend. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say, well, I ain't my friend no more, because I have unconditional love. You're not going to make me hate you. You're not going to do anything to me that's going to make me say, you know what I mean? Now I'm going to safeguard myself from you. That's one thing I can do, knowing that you're trying to set people up. And that's one thing that the girl does. Like I said, she has a trail of bodies, even before she knew me. You know what I mean? Even before she knew me, there was incidents where people was just amongst her, and, you know what I mean, they didn't make it. You know what I mean? So she's yeah. So don't think that the weak don't really have that type of or people that you deem as weak don't have that type of power when they do, you know. So That's one thing that uh, 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 I did. I came out here, I fled, got a taxi, and I doubled back around, and I came and got her, and we left. I mean, and I was able to get the taxi cab to bring her all the way to her home. She stays in Elmwood Park. I mean, and she's staying with people that's robbing her. I mean, like I told you, I had got her money back. Her Social Security. So she had got her Social Security back. She lost it for 5 years. Then she met me. Then I had got it back from her. I went to Social Security with her, and they had to reinstate it. And they reinstated her money for like 5 years. Gave her like 50-something thousand. Didn't give me $1. Didn't give me a red cent out of that money. But she gave some other dude 10,000. They gotta understand this. Like I said, she's not my friend. I'm her friend. But she gave this one dude $10,000. You know what I mean? And then, fast forward to just last year, we had just got her, her SSDI because she was disabled before she became an adult. Like, she was disabled in school, she was disabled. So when you become an adult, because you was disabled before you became an adult, you automatically you're approved for SSDI. So SSI is like the poor status. Then you have SSDI, which is like the full benefits. You know what I mean? Full retired benefits. So now she gets full retired benefits. She just started getting them probably like around about 4 months ago. And like I told her, they had to release those funds to her because the system wasn't doing it on its own. So we had to keep calling up there like, yo, son, set up an appointment with her. Set up an appointment. So those funds and stuff was things that you help to establish in her life, but more so it's enabling her to get taken advantage of and to take advantage of her own self by having access to these drugs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's something that you're aware of. So she's never in this community at all, and this is like the bottom of the bottom. This is the bottom of the bottom right here. You know what I mean? And this is where, you know what I mean, they need some sort of inspiration. So that's one thing that I do. And when I come out here, this area is crime rampant, but when I come out to that area, it's the most peaceful area that you can step foot in. Nothing goes on out there. It's like they scurry or go indoors, but nothing. When I'm out there, it's so peaceful. Every area that you could possibly venture up and walk up and down is the most peaceful area. You understand? So yeah, I felt as though they knew that I had some money on me, and I didn't have all the money on me. I just had enough, the money that I was going to give out and the money that I had on me. That's it. I mean, go amongst your people and you give your people. You give it to them. I mean, because if not, then what would they do out there? They would rob out there. They would prostitute out there. They would steal out there. They would do all sorts of things to get that money. So you would go out there, and when you encounter people, you embrace people, and then you give to people. And that's just how it goes. That's the way that I work. I mean, that's fulfilling to me. I mean, being able to give the little that I have or the little that I come against, the little I come up with. So that is the reason why when I win, they win. When I win, the poor win. That's the reason why I can't win. That's the reason why I can't win. Because if I win, the poor win. If I win, they win. So when I win, it's not me, it's them that win. I mean, I'm not going to separate myself from them and go elsewhere and then go party with them. Y'all, I'm with y'all, yeah, they Gucci me. No, you know what I mean? No, I'm going amongst my people, and I'm going to let them know, like, yo, man, yeah, God is with y'all, man. God is amongst y'all, bruh. You know what I mean? Look at it. If God wasn't, then I wouldn't be out here with y'all. You know what I mean? Where I go, God come. You know? So, and that's how I know that these are God's people, because they don't look at me as prey. You know what I mean? They don't look at me as prey. Like I said, they're more embracive. They embrace you. I mean, even in the state that they're in. I mean, these are good people. Like I said, if they was wicked people, they would do away with me. Like those dudes, they was, you know what I mean? I don't know who sent them, but they knew who I was. Like I told you, it was a girl that was with the guy, and she was looking, making sure I was me. You know what I mean? You're aware of that. You know what I mean? And you gotta understand, she didn't, yeah. But oh boy, they was trying to move on me. You know what I mean? They was trying to move on me, but we slip away. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, because you see it all the time. The promotion of these acts that's what I mean, committed out of hate. These crimes that's committed out of hate, and then then people show them. So gang stalking and targeting are hate. It's a hate crime. So it should be addressed as such. If we feel as though these things aren't done out of love and out of kindness and compassion, and it is done in a way for us to submit either to a particular people or religion, or to ourselves, or succumb to our own mental anguish and take ourselves out, then what I mean, that is a hate crime. It's a hate crime. I mean, so yeah, I wanted to share that, and yeah. Peace.